Welcome to the 47th episode of the Soccer Podcast with no name, brought to you by Infusion Sports. We've got another humdinger of a show for you today. I'm back again with Bongz. We chat about Hugo Broos' Bafana, Sundowns' dominance, tricky half-dozen games for Ole's United, and of course, a whole lot more. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Welcome to the Soccer Podcast with no name. My name is Cheez. I'm joined here by my co-host, Bongz. Bongz, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, Mr. Cheez, I'm not doing too bad. Things are looking up nowadays. I don't know why, but it seems like we are going in the right direction.
I know your national team has been treating you well. How has your national power supplier been keeping you?
Since we sell coal there to China, and ship it off, it's obvious that we won't have some coal to do our electricity this side. So it shows just how much they think of us, you see.
Okay, Bongz, November the 1st, you'll have your time to make your decision. Anyway, let's forget politics. We're back here talking about football. Bafana came away 1-0 winners against Ethiopia in their fourth Group G game. Bafana now leads the group with 10 points, with Ghana right behind them with 9. With only 2 matches remaining, do you see Bafana winning their group?
I think it's Bafana have been playing decently. I wouldn't say they've been playing great. As we've mentioned the week before and the week before that it's not necessarily a Bafana that will go out and demolish another team or an opponent that we are playing again. It was the same thing when they were playing against Ethiopia. Maybe the strategy was a bit different, knowing that maybe we are home and we are not under pressure, maybe soak up the pressure. The circumstances were a bit different. But the results were still the same. Ethiopia had most of the possession there, 64, I believe, and Bafana had about 36% of the position. The passes, again, about 614 by Ethiopia and 351 by Bafana. And obviously, in this match, it was the own goal that decided the match, not Bafana maybe scoring the same as they did in the previous match. But again, like I said, matches are different, circumstances are different, so we can't, shoot a man while he's down. So it's good for Bafana that they got that point, and that's the good thing, that we got 3 points, not even a draw. We grinded it out, and now we are on top of that table, and with only 2 matches left for us to play. I think we've been the better side overall on paper, according to the points. Also, the guys that played didn't do too bad, so hopefully they keep doing the same. And I see that I suppose we all saw that he went with a similar structure. Is it Hugo Broos? Obviously, with the inclusion of Njabulo Ngcobo there in the middle, it was quite surprising because we know him as a defender, but clearly him and Stuart Baxter may be communicating or sending each other SMSs there to put the player in the middle. Other players didn't do too bad. Like I said, I think most importantly, it was also good seeing Yusuf Mart as well, a player who's he looks quite good to me, getting a chance to play for Bafana there, and other players like Nico Mobi as well. So look, I think we're heading in the right direction as Bafana. I'm not too sure where we will draw the line when we meet real competition. Maybe the tester will be the last match against Ghana. That's where we will be really tested and see if the guys have metal or not. But for now, I think all is good from my side, and I suppose if we do best, even if we draw both matches, we'll still top the group, so it's in our hands.
This story of Hugo Broos coming to Bafana and changing their fortunes, it reminds me of what Thomas Tuchel did when he came to Chelsea. Actually, it even reminds me of the movie Coach Carter. Remember that movie where the coach comes in, the current player and the organization have poor attitude, and there's a lack of discipline. I'm not too sure what happens at the end of Coach Carter. I watched it a long time ago and I probably fell asleep. But I'm pretty sure at the end, Coach Carter and his team wins. So this is what I feel South Africa are going to do. They are going to win. Let's rewind back to the first game, the opening game of the qualifying against Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, yes, we're missing 13 players. South Africa could have capitalized. Second game against Ghana. Ghana were missing players, some of the top players from the EPL. South Africa this time capitalized with a 1-0 win. It wasn't that convincing, but I suppose a win is a win. Then they went away to Ethiopia. Tricky game, but they ended up winning the game 1-3 against a good Ethiopia side. Ethiopia came the next Tuesday to the FNB Stadium. 2,000 fans there. We kind of made it difficult, as you allude to. Bruce decided to put a player we know as a defender as his central defensive midfielder. So I think he went into the game trying to contain Ethiopia. He must have seen something on Saturday that made him wary of Ethiopia on the Tuesday. We made it difficult for ourselves. We should have scored more than one goal. Like I said before, like you are saying now, our next game is against Zimbabwe. I'm pretty sure Coach Carter or Hugo Bros can get us 3 points there. But the game that's going to be difficult for us will be away in Accra. If we win that game, of course, we'll make it to the next round of qualifying. Should we lose that game, of course, we do not make it. But I have faith. Hugo Bros did say he needs more good players for Bafana. I trust that him and his management team will find those players they are looking for and get us to the next round of qualifying.
And moving to the second one, maybe sticking locally, the Premier Soccer League, PSL, decided on Wednesday that fans will not immediately be permitted to re-enter games. The news came amidst Bafana's 1-0 2022 World Cup qualifier victory over Ethiopia on Tuesday, where 2,000 fully vaccinated fans were allowed to attend. Was the trial a success, and do you agree with the PSL's decision?
I suppose it was a success. It's always great to see supporters in the stadium. It's been a long 18 months plus of seeing bad graphics in the background and hearing pre-recorded vuvuzela sounds. Yes, they did have difficulty because some idiots came to the stadium without, one, being vaccinated and two, having a ticket. To have at least a chance to sneak in, you should at least have one. I mean, let's use our brains here. Like I said last week, I'm in the camp of SAFA, the PSL, letting us go back to the stadium. Of course, we have to be vaccinated. We can start off with 10% capacity and then move on to 25% and so on. The likelihood of the majority of South African sports supporters being vaccinated at the start of next season is a joke. We both know that. It's not going to happen in South Africa. Those who want to go to the stadium without being vaccinated and want to expose themselves to the virus, they can go there and they can risk their lives just to watch Kaizer Chiefs. It's fine. It's their lives. But they can't bambazela the rest of us who are going to get vaccinated and want to watch football. That's my take on this issue.
Yeah, look, this thing is very simple for me. And I think also speaking of it or touching on the topic in the build-up a few weeks back before this match and test that SAFA did, we always mentioned the fact that, look, this thing is pretty simple. If you have a lot of people vaccinated, or all of your country's people vaccinated, it's easy to open the gates and have them go to the stadium, because there's less risk of the virus making the people or taking the people to ICU there, needing oxygen to breathe. I suppose that the doctors or the scientists have proven that, or given those facts at least, to show that there's less effect of the virus when people are vaccinated compared to when they are not. We see that happening in England. The fans are back. The atmosphere is fine. The clubs are even making more money. I'm not too sure if we actually make money in South Africa by having fans at the stadium, except for the ticket money, that the fans buy, that maybe separated between the stadium and the people that are running that thing. So I'm not too sure if it makes any difference anyway. Remember, before the closure with this COVID virus, we still didn't have like a lot of fans, except when Pirates and Chiefs are playing, and maybe now Sundowns and and Pirates. But at the end of the day, people still didn't go to the stadium. So to say that we miss the stadium having bums or on seats would be a lie. Yeah, regardless of that, for me, I think yes, it's a trial. It's good enough to have the number that we have, because either way, we would still have the same number, even if there was no COVID. So for me, I think it's just a good thing that they are doing, trying to return fans to the stadium, and those that will be vaccinated obviously will have the choice to go to the stadium. And I think it will help families that are serious about getting vaccinated and safety to have at least something to go to during the week, take their families there in safety, because obviously those others that maybe are not vaccinated are not there to risk, and also maybe it will take down the violence at the stadiums if there was ever that type of safety issues. So at the end of the day, I think obviously maybe, I don't know, according to the PSL, if it was a success, but they will let us know, because I know they said they will use now the MTN 8 final to try and do the same thing. And again, after analyzing, maybe after the MTN 8, they will decide what is what. So I think they should continue, and we'll see what happens.
Bongz, which one would you prefer? Going to a cinema where there are 100 of you and we don't even know who's vaccinated, or going to the stadium where there are 2,000 of you, but all of you are vaccinated and it's outside? Which one do you prefer?
Yeah, obviously I prefer the stadium. Hence I mentioned that, it will become a automatic by default, a nice place for families to even go and watch matches, you see. Now you can take your son or your daughter there because it's safe and the people there are vaccinated and it's not over populated or overcrowded in a sense.
Okay. As long as we're on the same page there, let's move overseas. In Manchester United's next half-dozen games, they play Leicester City, Atalanta twice in the Champions League, Liverpool, Tottenham, and Manchester City. Will Ole's job be on the line should Manchester United not perform well in these 6 games?
All right, so I'll answer the question first. For me, it's yes, his job must be, not even should be. It should be, it must be on the line, because remember, these are the big teams that he's going against. He's been playing the weaker teams in the league, and now it's time for the metal to hit the grind there, and so that we see if this metal is really strong or not. A game against Man City, who are third, they above Manchester United. Yes, on the same points, but at the end of the day, we want to see who's good there. Tottenham are not doing that great, but again, it's another test. If when they face United, it will be one of those games. Leicester, I'm not too sure. They're also not doing that good. So maybe United or Ronaldo can just score 2, and pass there. But I'm definitely sure that Tottenham, obviously, and Liverpool there at the top, Man City will give us, or Manchester United, a good run for our money. And then we will be able to judge whether Ole and the players that we have are good enough. In my opinion, yeah, I don't know. I think Ole needs to step back maybe and let professionals take over, and maybe United can do better. But let's not judge a man before he goes into the battle. Let him go to the battle and let's see what happens when he comes out. Because remember, Ole he has a proven record of beating big teams. He might just surprise you and more Man City, more Liverpool, more Liverpool, lose to Tottenham, and then more Leicester. And then at the end of the day, gets to keep his job.
In the song Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie, the lyrics go, pressure pushing down on me, pressure pressing down on you. No man asked for, under pressure that burns a building down, splits a family in two, puts people on the streets. I'm not too sure if the last two lines are relevant, but this will be the theme song to Ole's life in the next couple of weeks. Ole is 5-2. Manchester United are trying to re-sign Paul Pogba, and they're trying to keep Ronaldo happy. Losing doesn't make anybody happy. It actually does the opposite, as we know. United is one of the most talented teams in Europe, but they are losing to the likes of Aston Villa and young boys. They're drawing games they should be winning. They're winning games thanks to moments of magic from their talented players. 4 league games, they need at least 10 points. In the Champions League, they need 6 points against Atalanta. Anything less, and I think Ole must upload his CV on PNet because I think they're going to axe him. Ole, the supporters are starting to turn against him. And those ones who are on his side, they won't have a leg to stand on because, like I'm saying to you, unless they collect those points in the league, they will be far behind. And as you can see in the league, the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Manchester City are mooring teams left, right, and center. They are not going to drop points. Teams are going to win. The team that's going to win the Premier League is going to be the team that collects the most points against their rivals. So with this being said, Ole, this is a countdown to his removal from Manchester United if he's not careful. But just like you're saying, Ole, I don't know, he has some muti that he's using. Every time he's under pressure, he seems to win the games. So we'll see after 2 weeks if this will be the case.
Right, and bringing it back home for a little bit, striker Peter Shalulile has been named the player of the month, and co-coach is Mangoba Mngeti, Rulani Mukwena, and I don't know if we can include Steve Kompela there, since they're a trio, they lifted the coach of the month award. Is this a new normal in the PSL?
Bongz, when we talk about the new normal, we are talking about things like you have to be careful in cracking jokes about a person's sexuality, especially on social media. When we talk about the new normal, we are talking about you coming home and your hands are burnt when you come back from the mall because of all the sanitizers that you've been putting on your hands. When we talk about the new normal, we are talking about being careful of who you share because the only thing you can see is their eyes. So this one is not the new normal. This one is not the new normal, is normality. For the past 5 years, Sundowns have been champions. They have been the best team in the league. So how is it the new normal? Of course, they saw what the likes of Bayern Munich and PSG do in their respective leagues. They buy every team's best player. So, of course, this is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. This weakens the opposition and makes their team stronger. The formula has worked, and now Sundowns are too strong. Kaizer Chiefs supporters, Para supporters, of course, the 2 most supported teams in our country, they need to be realistic and realize that right now, they cannot compete with Sundowns in terms of winning the major honors in South African football. At least they're not winning they should be happy. Not even at least. These teams should be happy that Sundowns are not winning the quadruple every year, because if they want to, they can win every cup. Because they are focusing on the CAF Champions League and the league, this guy gives other teams a chance in other competitions. So that's why you see them getting knocked out of the MTN 8. You see them getting knocked out of useless cups like the Telkom knockout. But otherwise, in terms of strength, there is no team in the PSL that is close or will, for a near future, come close to Mamelodi Sundowns. I'm not too sure what they can do now unless you, Bongz, have a solution for them?
Yeah, look, top of the league, obviously, have played 6, have won 5, have drawn 1, haven't lost. Second best scoring team in the league with 11 goals going forward. Only second to Real Kings with 12 goals. Don't know how that works, but okay. When you look at assists again, top assisting player, Lyle Lakey, Mamelodi Sundowns, 3 assists. Only second to Vincent Pule of Orlando Pirates. You look at these stats and it's just Sundowns. Everywhere you look, Sundowns. PSL, who's leading the log, Sundowns. What do you call it? MDC, who's leading the log, Sundowns. Women's football, if you look there in the league, who's leading? Sundowns. So, I don't know what else we must say about this team. Look, they started building something special a few years ago. They started signing the best players. They wanted to be the best team. That's maybe the goal when they started was just that, and they are realizing their goal now 4 years later or 5 years later. Sundowns is difficult to beat. They have the best players. They can even field 2 different teams and still beat you on any given day. I think it's what they are doing off the field. I think it's also what they're doing in the boardroom that they are doing right. Remember, to be the best, you have to emulate the best. Try to copy what the best. When he was hired, along with the management, sat down in boardroom, decided which players to buy and so forth. Not only the owner saying buy this one, no, from everyone else in management who plays a role in that documentary. I think Sundowns announced it there on that. You can see that this is a business that is serious, that takes people serious, first of all, and have a goal. The others, they do it there in the shoshombi, in the dark there. We don't know when, how the coach was hired. We don't know when the player was signed. We are signing Rudiger. The next thing, no, he's not being signed, he's going back. We don't know, So for me, look, Sundowns is the new normal. And if other teams want to be as good as Sundowns, I think they must follow and emulate what they are doing. I'm not too sure about the 3 coaches, but at the end of the day, if you start copying the small things that the team is doing, I think you might make it. So for me, Sundowns, definitely the new normal. In fact, I want it to be the new normal so that in general, our soccer improves.
After being cancelled in 2020, the Ballon d'Or is back, with the great and good of football world again eyeing the biggest individual honor the game has to offer. The shortlist for the 2021 prize has now been announced, with 29 players joining 2019 winner Lionel Messi as contenders to claim the prize. Who is your favorite to win the Ballon d'Or?
Yeah, look, I don't know about this Ballon d'Or thing because, it is used to decide who is the best player in the world in terms of, maybe the goals they scored or their performances or their stats. But at the end of the day, you always see the same names on that list and these players, from what we term the best leagues in the world. You never see some name of a guy from Cameroon who scored 15 goals or 20 goals. So you never know how this thing is calculated. But for me, as important as people might think it is, I don't think it's that important because end of the day, Lionel Messi has 6 of those things, and then Ronaldo has 7, and then the other one is catching up. But there were players that have done great before those guys that maybe have deserved those accolades, like Mo Salah when Liverpool was doing their best. He could have won that thing. Sadio Mane could have won that thing. But all these players are just being listed for the purpose of, showing people that other players are listed. At the end of the day, they decide to give it to Messi or Ronaldo. Neymar has done well. He never gets close to that thing. Thomas Muller, even Lewandowski at some point were scoring brilliant goals. So, it's almost like tennis. In tennis, you have to have a lot of experience to be part of the grades there, so you can play the grade. So if I come in and play only 2 matches, I won't be ranked with the grade. So how are other players supposed to catch up to Messi and Ronaldo? But anyway, that's just my thing. It's the Ballon d'Or. Again, Messi has moved to PSG. They probably will give it to him, or they'll give it to Ronaldo, who's moved to Manchester. But at the end of the day, for me, those players or 29 players or the rest of the players apart from Messi and Ronaldo that have been listed are just players that are, invited to be to go on the show. They already know they're not gonna win that thing. They'll just wear the suit and say, "Hey, at least I was at the show. The dinner was nice, 5-course meal, and I drank a nice wine." Because we all know they're just gonna take this thing and give it to Messi or Ronaldo for moving to PSG or moving to Manchester United. And so, if you ask me who's my favorite, is those two. Either one of them, either the other or the other. That's it for me.
You're right there, Bongz. We don't know what is the criteria, what is the criteria for the Ballon d'Or. I don't think anybody knows. Okay, I took my time out to make my own criteria. Okay, first you need to be in one of the richest clubs in the world. Barcelona, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Chelsea, or PSG. Then you need to be a brand ambassador for one of those corporates, the billion-dollar corporates, like Nike, Adidas, or Pepsi, or whatever. And lastly, you need to score a lot of goals. Let me not even say lastly, second last, you need to score a lot of goals. And lastly, your average on FIFA needs to be above 85. Then I think you'll win it, because none of us understand the criteria here. On a serious note, this award has always been a popularity contest. How is it possible that Ronaldo and Messi have been the two best players in the world for the past 13 years? That's highly impossible. Just one defender and no goalkeeper has won this award in recent times. Just playing great football is not enough. Football is one of those sports where stats don't tell the full story. So in that case, you could say it's subjective. With him winning the Champions League and the Euro 2020, you think that Jorginho is the favorite? Nah, I don't care. As long as Messi and Ronaldo do not win, I'm okay with it. We are tired of them. I'm sure their speech writers are tired of lying to us every year with the lies of speech that they tell us every time they win this thing. With you, no, I didn't expect it. You expected it because last year you won it, and this is the 5th time you're winning it. But anyway, as long as it's not those guys, I'm fine with it. As long as it's another player like Jorginho, I'm okay.
Right, and let's move on to our quick hits. Premier League clubs are unhappy with Newcastle's Saudi-led takeover. They are demanding an emergency meeting with the top flight officials. Are their actions justified?
Bongz, this one is a joke. You know how it is? It's like high school. It's like the pretty girls are now jealous of the ugly girl who gets a makeover because of puberty. She gets bigger boobs and a bigger ass, and now they have a problem with it. This is just an issue of this Premier League club, which apparently is Manchester United, Tottenham, Everton, and the so-called big clubs. Is just them having a problem with Newcastle having an injection of funds. And what that means is that they are going to be competing for Champions League spots like they are. That's all this is about. This is about money.
I think I agree with you there. I don't see an issue here why you need to hold a meeting for a leader that's coming who has more money than you. They always say the man with the bigger gun wins the war. So I think all the other teams that are concerned are seeing that Newcastle is going to bring a bigger gun, and eventually there will be more teams to compete with. So I agree with you there. This is just jealousy out of other people who have money. When you see someone who has more money than you, you start thinking, ish, lows or spazamisal.
Lazarus Kambole, Bong's favorite player, is expected to leave Kaizer Chiefs as early as January next year. How would you summarize his time at Nkosi, Bongz?
Yeah, no, he's definitely my favorite player because he's the only player that I can compare myself to and have confidence that I can do better. That's why that's why he's my favorite player. So, for me, I think that it's about high time that somebody realized that there's a certain player who hasn't been, giving any effort, maybe not even effort, that hasn't been doing anything for the team. So for me, I think it's a good thing. If I summarize his time as at Nkosi, it's like I'm saying, I've never played for Chiefs, so I can compare his time to my time. There's no difference. Whether he's there or not, I think Chiefs are still the same.
The scout or whomever thought Kambole was a good player and should come to Kaizer Chiefs should get fired by Kaizer Chiefs, because clearly Kambole is not at the level of the DStv Premiership. He even, I think, if he goes down to the ABC Municipal League, he'll struggle there. He's not good enough, and it will be good riddance for Kaizer Chiefs supporters. If I had to summarize his time there, it would be very disappointing. I suppose in Zambia, he was a very good player, but in the DStv Premiership, he proved not to be good enough.
And Harry Kane has only scored 6 goals in 10 games in all competitions for Tottenham, 5 of which he scored against below average sides in the Europa Conference League. His form for England has also dipped. What's wrong with Harry Kane?
I am not a psychiatrist, but I think this is a mental thing. Harry Kane is known to be a slow starter, but this time it seems a little deeper than that. It was one thing if he'd only performed badly for Spurs, you think, it's the new coach. But also for England too, they rested a game against Hungary. They said he looked lost. Harry Kane, I don't think I've seen him smile the whole season. When you look at his face, he looks like somebody who lost his cat. He seems melancholy and sad about something. We don't know if it's a transfer issue or if it's something else. He needs to see a psychiatrist, maybe to get over whatever he's getting over, or maybe he just needs to be given more time.
Look, for me, I think it's a very simple thing. Tottenham should have let Harry Kane go when he has to leave. Harry Kane is not the same anymore. He's just playing because he has a contract that says he must be on the field. If it wasn't for that, Harry Kane would be like Gareth Bale, would put the goal first and Tottenham last in that order. So for me, I think it's just about high time Harry Kane moved on from Tottenham because he doesn't seem interested.
Barcelona are in advanced talks over renewing Pedri's contract, with the Spaniard ready to agree a deal that will run until 2026. Barca also plan to include a release clause with more than 1 billion euros. Is the young boy worth all this money?
Look, for me, he's not worth all that money. I do think he's a good player, but remember, to be a good player, you also have to prove yourself and play against the best and beat the best or do better than the best. So let's see his stats and let's see what he has improved on or what he has done better than the best. And for me, until then, he's not worth it.
Barcelona, Pedri, as young as he is, he's the best player in Barcelona. What Barcelona should do, they should even build a statue of him and Ansu Fati outside the Camp Nou, because if those two leave, it's over for Barcelona. They must give him all the money he wants, and yes, that release clause must be there in place, because there are poachers around here, the likes of PSG, the likes of Manchester City, who are always sniffing around, and of course the likes of Newcastle United with the newfound billions. They might come around, want to snatch him from Barcelona. So I think he's worth the money, because right now Barcelona, in the financial situation that they are in dire trouble. The only people they can sign is free agents and has-beens. So right now, I think Pedri is worth it.
And moving on to our next one, Brazil stars react to Neymar quit talk after the star player revealed that he could consider retirement after the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Open quote from Chelsea midfielder or defender Silva. He said, "We forget a lot of what he has done on the pitch and focus on what is not important. He puts a lot of pressure on himself." Another Brazilian teammate of his, which we don't like very much, Fred, said, "We want him to stay with us for many years or more years." Is Neymar serious about the quitting football, or is he just seeking attention to be on the news?
Number one, nobody really cares what Fred thinks, because as he says, you want him to stay with us. I don't know. Is that us? Is he talking about Brazil? Because if Brazil are going to be playing with Fred in the next World Cup, they have something coming for them. But anyway, I digress. Let me move back to Neymar. Neymar saying he's going to quit international football after next year's World Cup. I think the guy is serious. Neymar has a lot on his plate. You know, he needs to party. He needs to go model and all of those such things. He comes across as a fellow that football isn't the be all and end all of his life. There are other interests that he's into. So if he can just play club football and leave international football, I think he'll have more time to party and to go to Ibiza and jam with the half-naked girls.
Neymar is being ridiculous. First of all, you know, a player like his, of his caliber, still has a lot of years to play football and maybe continue to create great stats to be one of the greats, of Brazil and all sorts. And if he decides to quit the international football, that will, at the end of his career, maybe make him a historic player instead of one of the greats. Look, there are players like Ronaldinho who we enjoyed seeing them play, but they didn't last for more than 6 or 5 years. We saw a little bit of them, of their flair, and later on, he's being arrested after taking a flight somewhere, stating that he wishes he was still playing and all those things. We don't want Neymar to suffer the same, to realize at the end of his career that he could have played more. Take Ronaldo R9 again, same thing. If it wasn't for his injuries, he would have played more. So I think Neymar should learn from that and play football. He's just buckling under the pressure of seeing players like Mbappe who are young and can do better. So he's thinking, here comes trouble, let me quit before it gets bad.
And with that, we have come to the end of our show. Thank you for boring us your ears for about 40 minutes or so. And we hope you join us again on Monday. Please remember to follow us on all social media networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @Infusion Sports. We got great content and we'll be running competitions soon. From me, Cheez, it's adios, Bongz.
Yes, and from me, Bongz, thanks again for your ears and your time. And we hope you like the analysis and the topics that we bring about. Look out, there's also maybe a few interviews that we will do with prominent players or former players coming up. So, keep your head down and keep listening to that show without a name.